we're gonna move on to the game of the week. So, you guys, I hope you enjoy what these guys are gonna talk about. Oh, and just so you guys know, Undo Games is the provider of games for the Cage Club. So they're gonna take over the game review section because when they bring in games, and we get games exponentially quick. They come in like the day after the release date. So, and the cheapest price on the island, $85 for a brand new game. You can't get that anywhere else except unless you go to the States. And the States price is $69. So I don't know, you guys are San Jose Free games and you still have to pay customs.
Unless you want it for 110.
Yeah. These guys are bringing it in very quick, and I approve of what they're doing. I get my games through them, so you guys should give them a try. $85, brand new game.
They also pre-order.
Yeah, we also do pre-orders for half-down. So even if there's a game what they're looking for and you can't find, we'll get it improved. Well, they'll get it improved. So just try and give them a try. Also, like I said, they're taking over the gaming segment, so we're going to hand it over to them now to do the games. So,
but I won't play games.
You can't go play game right now.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Good evening. You're at the round table. That is squared. Tonight, our guests, Dell Gibson.
Exactly.
And Danny Williams. Hi. Tonight, we're going to talk about downloadable content. I only have one word for that. What? It's added content for half a game. That's the way I feel about it. We're here with two opposing polarities. Let's see why downloadable content was created in the first place. Okay, so we spoke about this a little bit earlier today. As a retailer, someone who resells a game, let's use GameStop because all of you guys are, GameStop, or more preferably for the Bahamas and as a retailer, the profit margin on games from a developer side isn't that much. It's literally a few dollars, less than $7. So whenever you look at an expensive game, it's like, wow, do these guys really need all this money? Really? $60 for, $70 for a game should be less. All of that money, most of that money goes between three places. It goes to the developers, which definitely need it, but they don't get that much. Most of the money stops at the distributor and the publisher. They don't really do anything. The retailers push the games, the developer does all the hard work. They don't make that much money. And the retailers aren't making enough money because you buy 100 games, 100 different games, only 50 of those 100 games will be sold. The only person who really wins are the developers. You're still, negative that 50 games in terms of how much money you invest in. So the way that the retailers did it, they started trading in games. You trade in your game, they resell that same traded in game, and that's how they make their money. The problem is, at least in GameStop, they did it too well. And now the developers and the publishers specifically aren't making as much money. So downloadable content, they're not making anything. They're not really making that much money now. No, because for every game that's sold, that game could be resold 3 or 4 times, and on the retailers now the retailers are benefiting. So to balance it off, they introduced downloadable content, but it comes with a cost. We fully understand that they need to make their money, but to what extent should this downloadable content include? And when you're making a game, really should you be having downloadable content in mind? You got a perfect example for Dell. You want to explain that story one more time with the Catwoman scenario?
In the month of Batman Arkham City coming out, was they're going to give you, for people who bought the game brand new out of GameStop or whatever, they're going to give you Catwoman DLC included with the game. And I remember there was like a whole fiasco about that, like codes wasn't working for people. The whole Catwoman situation was it was integral to the Batman Arkham City story. So I didn't like that I had to pay extra money for what I felt was I wouldn't say owed to me, but I didn't like how I felt nickel and dime out of it. Maybe that wasn't the intention, but that's how I felt.
Good point, Del. Good point. This is some good points. Stanley, what do you have to say about that?
Okay, having never played Batman Arkham City, yes, I have not played it, I'm sorry, but I'm a really busy person.
Sure. Heretic.
Things like, let's say, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. This is a game I play. I'm a fighting game freak, so... the two downloadable characters were Jill and Shomogara. Both of them are really interesting characters, seeing as they were from the previous installment. They were really popular characters in the previous installment, I should say. Bringing them back added a new pizzazz to the game for those who wanted those characters, but it wasn't necessary for the game. If you go online these days and play, you won't see every team playing Jill and Shomogara. But those real fanatics over those characters would play the game.
But see, it works very, very well for fighting games, because in a fighting game, you know, certain characters you might not need. And I guess but still, to some extent, for instance, what Capcom has been doing for the last, I don't know, bajillion years,
since they've been a company.
Exactly, is that they've been creating games with, well, I can only say with the full intent of coming out with another game that same year. Even Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom, there was Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which was like 8 months before Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom. I have a bit of a problem with that. They knew full well that they were going to make Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. They released this game, 8 months later, they come out with a new game. So it's kind of like, do we let this slide now, or how far is this going to go? That's how I feel. But,
well, in the case of those fighting games, it's actually rather tricky, because players who are experienced playing these games, they tend to find any little loop in the game that they can, giving way to infinite combos, as we've seen in some of the previous installments of fighting games. So, I guess what they may be doing, in my opinion, is that they create more like a prototype version of the game, but they don't have almost everything the real game would have, to see how players would take advantage of whatever little system the game provides. And after seeing some of the gameplay of, oh, this person does this infinite combo, oh, this person hits one person, glides off the screen, can't be hit. So they correct those mistakes, and then when they finish, they bring the full game where these things cannot happen, where it becomes a complete fair game.
Del, you want to review that?
Yeah, that almost makes complete sense, because if that's what they were actually doing, there's ways to do that sort of thing. It's called a beta.
Oh, that's technically the game is a beta, if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
But players are so worked up to play it that they will be willing to pay for this beta game, which is what actually happened.
If that is the case, they should not sell an unfinished product as the finished retail product on a shelf. I am fine if that's the case, but do not sell it as a finished product when you know full well it isn't.
But they're not selling it as a finished product. Okay, it's like you said, Capcom is doing this for generations, from one of the first Street Fighter games.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything from this?
Yeah.
That if they bring out a game, they're going to bring out another. So if you want the finished game, do not buy the original, and then buy the finished one.
Again, that's completely crazy still, because if you don't buy the original, then they won't make enough money to make another part. So it's kind of like shooting themselves in the foot if they expected that to happen.
Not to mention, they have even less of an excuse nowadays because of DLC. If you bring out a game that the company would claim is unfinished, it's fine. Do not bring out another game 9 months later and expect me to buy that game, which is more or less the exact same game you brought up 9 months prior. And you could just bring out DLC for people who bought your existing game, who supported you in the first place. I just buy that DLC for $15 and I'm up to speed with anybody who just wants to go and buy the now updated version. Okay? Like, that's fine with me. And they did it with Street Fighter 4 with the arcade edition, and I was fine with that. And I kind of understand why they didn't do it with Marvel, because around that time is when they had to deal with the earthquake and whatnot, so, I guess I can give them a pass on that.
Okay, but one other little comment I wanted to add in about that, because you're talking about changing the system. In certain cases, yeah, you need to upgrade it, and especially they have competitions with these things.
Exactly.
Yeah, they have competitions, and you need to stay on the ball, come up with new systems, balance out the characters a little bit more better, seeing how the world handles it. That's okay, almost as good. But how do you explain Super Street Fighter 2 HD Hyper Edition? Super Street Fighter, for people who don't know, Super Street Fighter 2 is a game that came out maybe, 1992?
That's like 94, I think.
So,
long time, right?
That was a
Hyper
long
Fighting.
time ago. Hyper Fighting Edition, which only changes, I quote, is that there's a hyper bar. It's the only change. So that's a little. It's hard to
Well,
follow
in that case, it's not the exact same game because it added a whole new feature. Okay, you can still play the original, but then you have a hyper combo gauge, which is a must for any fighting game these days. You must have some special technique that does a reasonable amount of damage, has a reasonably high priority that you can't abuse. You can only use it every so often.
So why don't I play Super Street Fighter 4 if I want these things? No, my question was if certain the hyper gauge, is this the same on a Super Street Fighter 4?
Correct.
Yes, correct. So if I want a hyper gauge, why not just play Super Street Fighter 4?
Well, you can do that in 1992 or 1994.
Yeah, but why? What? Why make a game in 2012 with a hyper? Why make a game that came out 20 years ago with a hyper gauge if it's not for?
People love the classics.
Okay, we can leave it at that. But some very good points. Danny's opinions that. Well, this is only in fighting games. And in terms of fighting games, maybe you could let certain things slide. You could let certain things slide. But stuff like action-adventure games or RPGs, perfect example. Downloadable content and these rehashing out, it just seems, a bit tricky, like almost criminal. That's our opinion. But well, how do you feel about RPGs? You make some good points with the fighting games.
Like I say, fighting game is my quote-unquote forte. I haven't played many RPGs with downloadable content. Many, as in any, at all. So I would imagine that this downloadable content shouldn't affect the actual storyline of the game. So it's like you buy it and you get like an additional storyline for the small price of $4.99. I believe it's actually okay, in my opinion, because as you create a game, as you plan the game out, you create the characters, the items, the engine, create everything for the game. And as the game is out, you'll be like, this would have been good to put this in the game. Or sometimes you get fan feedback, as in, you can add this to the game.
Okay.
And that is actually the source of many of these downloadable content. Fans say they want this, so we create this and charge them 99 cents for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's for certain games. Certain games do that. Certain other games do not do that. I can tell you that for a fact. I can tell you for a fact that during the development process, they had full well with the game plan. We were going to release this map. Some months later, we're going to release this map. Some other months later. But there's still, again, some very, very good points. Okay, so final words. We gave our viewers something to think about on both sides of the issue. Very good points for both sides. There's a business side, and there's also, just making some adjustments to make the experience a little bit better. So final thoughts, Del. What are your final thoughts on the situation?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love DLC. Love it. If they can provide more value to the game that I want to play, then wonderful. I bought every piece of DLC for Oblivion. Didn't regret a thing except for the horse armor. The horse armor was crap. But I'm really happy with it. They release things that the consumer feels they can put a value on, and mostly they do. It's just that, it's still a new thing. So nowadays, they're still just feeling out what they can and can't get away with as far as their customer base goes. So, we'll see in the future.
Okay, Danny?
And I would say it's more of a trial and error. They create these things, people that buy them, they learn from the experience. If nobody buys it, they're like, okay, this is what we don't need. Fan feedback.
Yeah, which is very important.
Very important. Well, so my final thoughts. Well, Danny and Del made some very good points. Let's keep it controlled. Let's not get too focused on the downloadable content and then leave the original game lacking. I'm starting to believe that some of these glitches and stuff are it's just because they don't want to put the time into it and they know that they can fix it later.
Skyrim, you know what I mean? I'm looking at you.
We're looking at you, Betsy. Don't worry, love you guys, but come on, get it right.
I heard about the glitch of Mega Man and that Street Fighter Cross Tekken, shoot and glide. Fix it.
So, something for more content. So, well, this is Jason Adam. Thank you for joining us. We have some much greater stuff, and please subscribe.
Wait, are we putting that in?
Please, let me live. Not me, mate. Not me. I got a family, mate. Come on. You gotta understand. You're not human.
It's not an easy thing to live in the darkness.
You so-called ninja are ghosts of a forgotten age.
Think! How many lives has that hand taken? Hundreds? Thousands? The blood of those you have cut down infused your sword, together with their vengeful hatred. Now, it's in your arm! The only real question is, who will die first? You or the world?
Everyone changed. It's all different now.
Men! Spread out and attack!
Oh no! How did this happen?
Today we march for the capital under the command of His Highness, Prince Richard.
We're almost there. Damn it.
Oh no!
I can't stand still. Not any longer.
They've come with staggering numbers, and our forces have already been pushed back into town!
I have to escape and warn everyone.
Enemy attack! They've got us trapped.
Alright. We'll handle the monsters. With Fendel free to torment Windor as it pleases, there can be no peace or joy for Lant.
We've already gone through so much. I don't want anyone to have to suffer again.
When I left home, I swore to become strong. I swore I would never again fail to protect someone.
Silver! Shining blade of triumph!
How much more must we endure before we reach the ideals we strive for? You ask me to fight against my own brother? And my own people?
If the experiment fails, everyone could be hurt. Even worse, everyone could be killed.
Don't give up. Come on.